The message arrived at exactly midnight, Earth time. Every screen on every human ship, every colony, and every station flickered once and then displayed the same words. Admiral Kong Do-yan stood on the bridge of the carrier Eternal Soul and read the message without blinking. His officers gathered behind him, their faces pale with fear. The Galactic Senate had spoken. 4,000 alien civilizations had voted, and the result was unanimous. Humanity had 7 days to surrender all colonies, destroy all warships, and submit to species reassignment. The Admiral knew what that meant. Slavery. The end of everything humans had built among the stars. "Sir," his first officer whispered, "what do we do?" Do-yan did not answer. He simply turned and walked to his private quarters, leaving his crew in terrified silence. On the Galactic Senate Station, 10,000 light-years away, Ambassador Park Yuna stood before the largest gathering of alien species in the known universe. The chamber was built for giants, and she looked small, standing at the center podium. Around her, creatures of every shape and size watched with cold eyes. Some had scales. Some had wings. Some existed as pure light. All of them had decided that humanity must end. The Valori High Counselor floated down from his elevated seat. He was tall and thin, with silver skin and eyes like black holes. His species had ruled the galaxy for 600,000 years. They had watched stars die and civilizations rise and fall. To them, humanity was nothing but an insect that had crawled too far from its nest. "You have heard our judgment," the High Counselor said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Your species is too aggressive, too dangerous, too unpredictable. You breed too fast. You fight too easily. You cannot be allowed to spread further." Yuna kept her back straight. "We have done nothing wrong. We have followed every law. We have traded fairly. We have harmed no one. You exist," the High Counselor replied. "That is enough. We have seen your history. We have studied your nature. In 10,000 years, you will outnumber us all. In 20,000, you will control this galaxy. We will not allow it." Yuna looked around the chamber. She saw thousands of faces, and not one showed sympathy. "You condemn us for crimes we have not committed. We condemn you for crimes you will commit. This is the wisdom of ancient species. We see the future, human, and there is no place for you in it." Guards appeared beside Yuna, tall, armored soldiers from a warrior species that served the Senate. They grabbed her arms and began to drag her away. 7 days, the High Counselor called after her. "Then we come for Earth." The news reached Earth within hours. President Li Wujin sat in the emergency bunker beneath Seoul and watched the reports. Every channel showed the same thing. Panic in the streets. People crying. Families holding each other. The military preparing for a war everyone knew they could not win. His advisors surrounded him, talking over each other. "Negotiate," some said. "Buy time." Perhaps they could offer something, anything, to delay the inevitable. Others argued for surrender. Better slavery than extinction. At least some humans would survive. Wujin listened to them all. He was a small man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been president for 6 years, and in that time he had dealt with economic problems, political fights, and minor diplomatic issues. Nothing had prepared him for this. When his advisors finished talking, he stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the city above. Seoul was bright with lights, even now. 20 million people lived there, going about their lives, trying not to think about the end. "Call a United Nations Assembly," Wujin said quietly. "Every world leader, every colony representative. I will speak to them in 1 hour." His chief advisor stepped forward. "What will you tell them, sir? What can we possibly say?" Wujin turned and smiled. It was a strange smile, calm and almost peaceful. "I will tell them the truth." 1 hour later, the assembly gathered. Leaders from every nation and colony watched on screens as President Wujin walked to the podium. The world held its breath. "I will keep this brief," Wujin began. "You have all seen the message. You know what they demand? They want us to surrender, They want us to give up our homes, our ships, our freedom. They believe we are weak. They believe we will beg for mercy. He paused and looked directly into the camera. They are wrong. A murmur passed through the assembly. 2,000 years ago, armies came to our lands and told us to bow. We did not bow. 300 years ago, empires tried to divide our people and take what was ours. We fought back. 80 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves with our own weapons. And still, we survived. This is what humans do. We survive. We endure. We refuse to die. His voice grew stronger. The Galactic Senate has made a mistake. They looked at our history and saw violence. They saw war. They saw chaos. And they thought this made us weak. But they do not understand what they are seeing. They are seeing a species that has faced extinction 100 times and won. They are seeing a species that fights hardest when hope is gone. He straightened his shoulders. So let me say this clearly, to every human watching, and to every alien species that thinks we will surrender. We will not kneel. We will not beg. We will not go quietly. If the galaxy wants war, then war they shall have. And when they come for us, they will learn what every enemy in human history has learned. He leaned forward. They should have left us alone. The assembly erupted in cheers. Across Earth, across every colony, people stopped crying and started preparing. The fear was still there, but something else was growing. Something old and dangerous. Something that had been sleeping since the last great human wars. Far away, the Valori war fleet began its march. 10 million ships, armed with weapons that could crack planets in half. Grand Admiral Torek stood on his flagship and watched the stars pass. He had conquered 100 species. He had never lost a battle. This, he thought, would be the easiest victory of his career. He had no idea what was coming. The Valori fleet entered the Sol system on the third day. 10 million warships stretched across the darkness of space like a silver ocean. Each ship was beautiful in a terrible way, built with technology that humanity could barely understand. They moved in perfect formation, silent and deadly. Ready to end a species, Grand Admiral Torek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Judgment. He was old even by Velour standards. He had lived for 12,000 years and commanded fleets for half that time. He had seen species surrender at the mere sight of his ships. He expected humans to do the same. Scan the system, he ordered. Find their fleet. His officers worked quickly. The scan took only seconds. When the results came, Torek allowed himself a small smile. The human fleet was gathered near Neptune, the 8th planet. Barely 500 ships, old vessels with primitive weapons. They were outnumbered 500 to 1. They're brave, one of his officers said. Foolish, but brave. Bravery means nothing against numbers, Torek replied. Signal the fleet. Maintain formation. We will crush them and continue to Earth without stopping. The Valori Armada moved forward. Their weapons charged with a low hum that vibrated through space itself. Near Neptune, Captain Baek Jin-ho stood on the bridge of the destroyer Incheon. He was 42 years old. He had a wife on Mars and 2 daughters on Earth. He knew he would never see them again. Around him, his crew worked in silence. 200 men and women, all volunteers. When the call went out for ships to hold the line, more people volunteered than there were positions. They knew the odds. They came anyway. Captain, his communications officer said, the Valori fleet is hailing us. They're demanding surrender. Ginho nodded slowly. He pressed the button to respond. Valori fleet, this is Captain Baek Jin-ho of the destroyer Incheon. I have a message for your admiral. He paused and looked at his crew. They looked back at him with steady eyes. You should have studied our history. He cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Fire everything. The battle began. Human ships exploded by the dozens. Valori weapons tore through armor like paper. The darkness of space lit up with fire and death. Within the first hour, half the human fleet was gone. But something strange was happening. Something the Valori had never seen before. Lieutenant Shin Heen, was a fighter pilot. She had flown combat missions for 10 years and was considered one of the best in the fleet. When a velo or beam weapon hit her craft, she should have died instantly. Instead, she ejected at the last second, floating alone in the cold of space. Her suit was damaged. She had maybe 5 minutes of oxygen left. Her right arm was broken in 3 places. Blood floated around her in small red bubbles. Any sane person would have accepted death. Hein was not thinking about dying. She was thinking about the nuclear torpedo drifting nearby, blown free from a destroyed human cruiser. And she was thinking about the Valori command ship half a kilometer away. Using her good arm, she grabbed the torpedo. Using her damaged suit thrusters, she pushed it toward the command ship. It took her 3 minutes. Her vision was going dark. Her lungs were burning. Her last transmission was picked up by a human rescue ship, Tha. T arrived too late. Tell my mother I was not afraid. The torpedo hit the command ship. The explosion took out 2 other Valori vessels. This scene repeated itself across the battlefield. Human ships, even when crippled, refused to stop fighting. Crews rammed their dying vessels into Valori carriers. Soldiers with nothing left but their sidearms fired at enemy hulls until the void took them. Not a single human ship surrendered. Not a single escape pod was launched. Grand Admiral Torek watched the battle with growing unease. His fleet was winning, of course. Human ships were being destroyed at a rate of 10 to 1. But that was the problem. It should have been 1,000 to 1. It should have been over in minutes by the time the last human ship fell. The Valori had lost 40,000 vessels. Torek stared at the number. 40,000 ships. Against 500. It was impossible. It was insane. His fleet had enough power to conquer entire sectors, and these primitive humans had made them bleed. Bring me a prisoner, he ordered. I want to understand these creatures. His soldiers found one human still alive. A Marine named Oh Sun-woo, floating in the wreckage of a boarding shuttle. He had been trying to reach a Valori ship when his shuttle was destroyed. Both his legs were broken. His left arm was gone below the elbow. He should have been dead when they brought him before Torek. Sun-woo was conscious and smiling. Torek looked down at the broken human. You fought well. Your species has earned a quick death. Blood dripped from his mouth, but he laughed. You think this was our fleet? He said, You think this was our army? Torek frowned. Explain. Sun-woo looked up with eyes that held no fear. This was not our army, Admiral. These were just the people who volunteered to die first. We were never trying to win this battle. We were trying to show you what you were facing. He laughed again, wet and horrible. The real fleet is waiting for you. The real army has not moved yet, and now they have seen what you can do. They have studied your weapons, your tactics, your weaknesses. Sun-woo leaned forward as far as his broken body would allow, lost 40,000 ships killing volunteers. Wait until you face the people who actually want to survive. Torek said nothing. For the first time in 12,000 years, he felt something he did not recognize. Later, his advisors would tell him the name for that feeling. It was fear. Far away on Luna Base, Admiral Kang Doyan watched the battle's end on a tactical display. His face showed no emotion. Around him, officers waited for orders. How many did we lose? He asked quietly. All of them, sir. Every ship, every crew. Doyan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were hard as stone. And the enemy, 40,000 ships destroyed. Another 20,000 damaged. They have slowed their advance to regroup. Doyan nodded slowly. Then our people did not die for nothing. They bought us time. He turned to his officers. Activate Project Horizon. Show the galaxy what humanity has been hiding. Show them why they should have left us alone. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, machines that had been sleeping for 200 years began to wake up. Beneath the mountains of Korea, in a bunker that officially did not exist, General Choi Min-ho stood before a wall of screens. Each screen showed something different. Factories awakening. Ships emerging from hidden bases. Soldiers marching from underground facilities that had been sealed for generations. This was Project Horizon. humanity's darkest secret. For 200 years, since the first alien contact, humans had been preparing. They had smiled at the Galactic Senate. They had traded peacefully. They had acted weak and primitive. And all the while, they had been building, hiding, waiting. Minho was 60 years old. His father had worked on Project Horizon. His grandfather had helped design it. 3 generations of his family had dedicated their lives to a war they hoped would never come. Now it was here. Status report, he said. All hidden facilities are active, sir. Fleet emergence at 70%. Full deployment in 6 hours. Minho nodded. And the biological data? An officer handed him a file. Minho already knew what it contained, but he read it again anyway. Some truths needed to be remembered. In another room, Dr. Chen Sujin was giving a presentation to Earth's War Council. She was a xenobiologist, one of the best in the solar system. For 30 years she had studied alien species. What she had learned kept her awake at night. When humanity first made contact with alien life, she began, we assumed we were normal. Perhaps a bit more aggressive than average, but nothing unusual. We were wrong. She pressed a button, and the screen behind her showed a comparison chart. Every species in the Galactic Senate evolved on peaceful worlds, planets with stable climates, abundant food, few predators. They developed intelligence slowly over millions of years in safe environments. They bred out aggression because they did not need it. Earth was different. Our planet was trying to kill us from the beginning. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators in every forest. Diseases that wiped out half our populations. We did not have time to evolve peacefully. We had to fight for every breath. The council member shifted uncomfortably. Our bodies are weapons, Sujin continued. Our adrenaline, which activates in moments of stress, is poisonous to most alien species. Our bones heal stronger after breaking. We can function without sleep for days. We can survive injuries that would kill 10 aliens. She looked at each council member in turn. But the most important difference is in our minds. Other species have biological limits on violence. They literally cannot bring themselves to kill beyond a certain point. Their brains shut down. Humans have no such limit. We can keep killing until there is nothing left to kill. We evolved not just to survive, but to dominate. President Li Wujin spoke from his seat. What you are saying is that we are monsters. Sujin shook her head. No, Mr. President. What I am saying is that we chose not to be. Every act of kindness, every poem, every moment of peace in human history was a choice. We chose civilization over chaos. We chose mercy over slaughter. We are not monsters because we decided not to be. She paused. But the galaxy has just given us permission to stop choosing. On Luna Base, Admiral Kung Do-yan watched as the true human fleet emerged from dimensional pockets. Tiny folds in space where objects could be hidden from all sensors. The technology had been stolen from a dead alien civilization, improved, and kept secret. The Galactic Senate knew about 500. Human warships. The true number was 50,000. They were not beautiful ships like the Valerie fleet. They were ugly and brutal, designed for one purpose only. Their weapons were not elegant. They were massive, crude, and powerful enough to crack moons in half. Each ship was crewed by soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Do-yan looked at the fleet, felt something close to pride, and something close to fear. Admiral, his communications officer said, Commander Yun Bora is requesting permission to launch the first strike. Bora was 29 years old, the youngest flag officer in human history. She had a reputation for being brilliant and absolutely ruthless. Some said she was too aggressive, too willing to take risks. Do-yan had promoted her specifically for those qualities. Put her through, he said. Bora's face appeared on screen. She was smiling. Admiral, my strike force is ready. We have identified the Valerie supply convoy 3 light years behind their main fleet. Without supplies, their advance will stop. Do-yan nodded. You have permission. Commander, one more thing, sir. The galaxy is watching. Show them what we can do. and show them what we choose not to do. Bora's smile grew wider. Understood, Admiral. 3 hours later, Bora's Strike Force 12 ships using experimental warp technology appeared directly behind the Valori supply convoy. The attack took 7 minutes. Every supply ship was destroyed. Not one Valori soldier survived, but before she left, Bora broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Every species with the technology to receive it heard her words. Yeah, this is Commander Yoon Bora of the United Human Fleet. Today we destroyed a Valori convoy. Tomorrow, we will destroy more. The galaxy told us to surrender. We refused. The galaxy told us to die. We refused. Her voice hardened. To the Valori Empire, your fleet is now stranded. Your advance has ended. We are coming for you. She paused. To every species that voted for our extinction, Earth remembers. We are making a list. If you wish to avoid that list, withdraw from this war now. You have one chance. The message ended. Across the Milky Way, alien species watched in shock. The peaceful, primitive humans they had dismissed were gone. In their place was something else. Something that spoke with the confidence of predators. In the Galactic Senate chamber, chaos erupted. Representatives screamed at each other. Some demanded immediate reinforcements for the Valori. Others began quietly contacting human ambassadors, hoping to negotiate their way off the list. The Valori High Counselor stood in the center of the chaos, silent and still. A young aide approached him nervously. Your Eminence, what do we do? The High Counselor did not answer for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. We have made a terrible mistake. We looked at humanity and saw chaos. We should have seen something else. What, Your Eminence? The High Counselor closed his eyes. We should have seen survivors. We should have seen a species that clawed its way out of hell, and we should have left them there. He opened his eyes and looked at the stars beyond the chamber windows. Now hell is coming for us. On the 6th day, humanity attacked. Not in one place. Not in one battle. Across 12 star systems, human fleets appeared without warning and struck Valori staging grounds. Supply depots burned. Military bases fell. Communication relays went dark. The great Valori war machine, which had conquered 100 species over 600,000 years, began to crumble. Captain Nam Ji-hoon led the ground assault on a Valori fortress moon orbiting their home planet. His force was small, just 3,000 soldiers against a garrison of 50,000. The odds meant nothing to him. Listen up, he told his troops before the drop. The aliens think we get tired. They think we need rest. They think we will stop when we are wounded. They are wrong. Today we show them what humans can do when we stop holding back. The battle lasted 18 hours. Ji-hoon and his soldiers fought without stopping. They did not eat. They did not drink. They did not rest. When they ran out of ammunition, they used knives. When their knives broke, they used their hands. When the sun rose on the fortress moon, the human flag was flying over the Central Command building. Of the 3,000 soldiers who landed, 1,800 survived. Not one had retreated. Not one had surrendered. Across the galaxy, similar stories were unfolding. Valori commanders reported that human soldiers were impossible to stop. They kept fighting with missing limbs. They kept advancing under fire that should have killed them 10 times over. They showed no fear, no hesitation, no mercy. Major Kwan Ne-yan was in charge of psychological warfare. From a ship hidden in deep space, she began the second phase of humanity's attack. This one used no weapons. She broadcast human history to every species in the galaxy. Uncensored, unedited, all of it. The aliens watched in horror. They saw the world wars, millions of humans killing millions of other humans with machines and gas and fire. They saw the atomic bombs. Cities erased in single flashes of light. They saw genocide, slavery, torture, every terrible thing humans had done to each other over thousands of years, and then Neon broadcast a message with the footage. This is what we do to ourselves, she said calmly. This is how we treat the species we love. Our brothers. Our sisters. Our own children. We destroyed ourselves again and again, and each time we grew stronger. Each time we came back, she paused. Now imagine what we will do to you. The effect was immediate. Species that had supported the war resolution began withdrawing their ships. Ambassadors fled the Galactic Senate. Ancient civilizations that had never known fear suddenly understood what it felt like to be prey. The Velari found themselves increasingly alone. Ambassador Park. Una had been held on a neutral station since her expulsion from the Senate. On the 6th day, a human dreadnought arrived to collect her. She walked aboard with her head high, and the ship turned toward the Galactic Senate chamber. When she arrived, she was not alone. Behind her dreadnought came a fleet of 500 human warships. They positioned themselves around the Senate station, weapons armed but not firing. Una walked into the chamber where she had been condemned just 6 days ago. The same representatives were there, but now they looked different. Some would not meet her eyes. Others trembled visibly. The Velari High Counselor stood motionless, his silver face unreadable. "I have a new message from Earth," Una said. Her voice echoed through the silent chamber. "This is not a negotiation. This is an ultimatum." She pressed a button, and President Li Wujin appeared on every screen in the chamber. To the Galactic Senate, Wujin said, "You declared war on humanity. You voted for our extinction. You thought we were weak? You were wrong." His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Our fleets have destroyed your supply lines. Our soldiers have taken your fortress worlds. Your great Velari armada is stranded and dying. In 3 days it will be gone. And then we will come for you." He leaned forward. "But we are giving you one chance. Surrender now, unconditionally. Dissolve the Senate that condemned us. Pay for the damage you have caused. Do this, and we will stop. Refuse, and we will not stop at the Velari Empire. We will hunt every species that supported this war. Every single one. No matter how long it takes." His eyes were hard as stone. "You have 24 hours. Choose wisely." The message ended. Una looked around the chamber. "Any questions?" she asked. No one spoke. Far away, near Mars, the final battle was beginning. Grand Admiral Torek had gathered what remained of his fleet, still numbering in the millions, for one last assault on Earth. He knew he could not win. His supplies were gone. His reinforcements were not coming. But he was Velari. He would not surrender. Admiral Kang Do-yeon met him with the full human fleet. 50,000 ships against 5 million. The odds were still against humanity. Torek allowed himself a moment of hope. That hope died quickly. The human ships fought with a precision and ferocity that Torek had never seen. They moved like a single organism, each ship supporting the others, creating patterns of fire that tore through Velari formations. And when human ships were damaged, they did not retreat. They accelerated toward the largest enemy targets and detonated their reactors. The battle lasted 6 hours. By the end, the Velor fleet was broken. Scattered ships fled in every direction, abandoning their admiral. Torek stood on his burning flagship and watched his empire fall apart. Alarms screamed around him. His officers were dead or dying. And then the bulkhead behind him exploded. Through the smoke came a figure that Torek recognized. The broken human marine from the first battle? Oh, Sunwoo. But he was not broken anymore. Both his legs had been replaced with metal. His missing arm was now a mechanical weapon. Scars covered his face, and he was smiling. "Remember me?" Sunwoo asked. Torek straightened his silver robes. "You were the one who said we were facing volunteers." "That is right." Sunwoo stepped closer. "Want to know something funny? Even after everything you did to me, they had to hold me back. I wanted to be on the first ship heading your way. The doctor said I needed more recovery time." He gestured at his mechanical limbs. "I told them this would be enough." Torek closed his eyes. "Then finish it." Sunwoo grabbed him by the collar and dragged him to the bridge console. He forced the Admiral's hand onto the communication panel. "No," Sunwoo said. "You are going to do something first. You are going to broadcast your surrender to the entire galaxy. You are going to tell everyone what happened here. And then you are going to live with the memory of this day for the rest of your very long life." Torek opened his eyes. For a moment, something like defiance flickered there. Then it died. "You could kill me," he whispered. "Why don't you?" Sunwoof's smile faded. For just a second, he looked tired, old, human. "'Cause we are trying to be better than you. Now talk." Torek talked. His voice went out to every corner of the galaxy, announcing the Valori defeat. Announcing the end of an empire that had lasted 600,000 years. When it was done, Sunwoo stepped back. "The war is over," he said quietly. "Go home, Admiral. Tell your children what happened here. Tell them to never forget." He turned and walked away, leaving Torek alone on his dying ship. The universe had changed, and nothing would ever be the same. 30 days after the war began, it ended on the steps of the United Nations building in Seoul. Korea President Lee Woojin had chosen this location carefully. It was his birthplace. It was where his great-grandmother had survived a war that nearly destroyed their nation. It was where humanity had learned, long ago, that the deepest wounds could heal. The ceremony was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. Trillions of beings watched as the Velour High Counselor walked slowly up the steps, flanked by human soldiers. He moved like an old man, though his species did not age the way humans did. The weight he carried was not in his body. It was in his soul. Ambassador Park Yuna stood at the top of the steps, waiting. She wore white, the traditional Korean color of mourning and new beginnings. Behind her stood the representatives of every human colony. Every nation, every people who had faced extinction and refused to fall. The High Counselor stopped before her. For a long moment, neither spoke. The galaxy held its breath. Then the High Counselor lowered himself to his knees. In 600,000 years, no Valori had ever knelt before another species. The gesture meant more than words ever could. "On behalf of the Valori Empire and the Galactic Senate," he said, his voice carrying across the sill, "Int Plaza, I offer unconditional surrender. We accept all terms. We submit to human judgment." Yuna looked down at him. Her face showed no triumph, only sadness. "Rise," she said quietly. "We do not want you on your knees. We want you standing beside us, building something better." The High Counselor looked up, confusion in his ancient eyes. "You could destroy us. You could enslave our species as we planned to enslave yours. Why would you offer mercy?" Yuna extended her hand and helped him stand. "'Cause mercy is not weakness," she said. "It is the hardest choice there is. We fight like demons, but we are not demons. We proved what we can do. Now we will prove what we choose to do." She turned to face the cameras broadcasting her image across the universe. "To every species watching, let this be remembered. Humanity did not start this war. We did not want it. We will not celebrate it. Too many good beings died on both sides, but we finished it. And now we offer you a chance." Her voice grew stronger. "The old Galactic Senate is dissolved. In its place, we propose a new council. One where no species can vote for another's extinction. One where the strong protect the weak, not prey upon them. One where we face the darkness of the universe together." She paused. "This is not a demand. It is an invitation. Stand with us, and we will build something that has never existed before. Peace through strength. Unity through understanding. A galaxy where no species ever has to face extinction alone." She smiled just slightly. "We know you are afraid of us now. That is fair. But fear can become respect. Respect can become trust. Trust can become friendship. We have time. We are patient. After all, we survived our own history. We can survive anything." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to change. The Valori Empire paid reparations. Not in wealth, which meant nothing to them, but in knowledge and technology. They shared secrets that had been kept for thousands of generations. Engines that could cross the galaxy in days. Medical techniques that could extend any species' lifespan. The wisdom of 600,000 years freely given. General Choi Min-ho, the man who had awakened Project Horizon, was put in charge of reconstruction. He sent human ships not to conquer, but to rebuild. Worlds damaged in the fighting received aid. Hungry populations received food. It was strange for the galaxy to see human soldiers planting crops instead of firing weapons. But that was also what humans did. Dr. Chen Sujin established the first interspecies medical institute. Her research on human biology was shared with everyone. Some species were horrified to learn why humans were so dangerous. Others began to understand that the same traits that made humans deadly also made them incredibly resilient helpers. A human doctor could work for 2 days straight without rest. A human rescue worker could survive conditions that would kill others. When disaster struck, humans were often the first to arrive and the last to leave. A scholar from a peaceful species, who called herself Prin in human languages, devoted her life to understanding humanity. She studied their history, their art, their music. She interviewed thousands of humans from every walk of life. After 20 years, she published her conclusions. Humans are not warriors despite their civilization, she wrote. They are civilized despite being warriors. Every poem they write, every song they sing, every moment of kindness is humanity fighting against their own nature. They are not good because it is easy. They are good because it is hard, and they do it anyway. This is why they terrified the Valor. And this is why they may one day be the best friends the galaxy has ever known. Admiral Kong Do-yan retired to a small fishing village in Gangwon Province, on the coast of the Korean Peninsula. He had saved his species. He had won the greatest victory in human history. And all he wanted was to be left alone with his boats and his memories. Reporters found him eventually. They always did. One young journalist asked him if he was proud of humanity's victory. Do-yan shook his head slowly. Proud? No. War is nothing to be proud of. I am relieved. Relieved that we survived. Relieved that we did not become what they accused us of being. He looked out at the sea. We showed the universe our claws. That was necessary. But we also chose when to retract them. We could have burned the Valori homeworld. We could have hunted every species that voted against us. We had the power. We had the anger. He turned back to the journalist. But we stopped. That is the part I am proud of. Not that we could win, but that we could stop. Years passed. The new Galactic Council flourished. Humanity took its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as builders. As healers, as guardians. Commander Yun Bora, who had led the first counterattack, eventually became an admiral herself. She commanded the peacekeeping fleet that patrolled the borders of known space. The ship she flew was the Eternal Soul, the same carrier where the war had been coordinated. Now it protected instead of destroyed. One evening, a young alien diplomat came aboard. He was from a species that had voted for humanity's extinction, and he was nervous about meeting the famous human commander. Bora found him on the observation deck, staring at the stars. They're beautiful, aren't they? She said, standing beside him. The diplomat flinched. Admiral Bora, I apologize. I should not be here without permission. You have permission, Bora smiled. It was a warmer smile than the one she had worn during the war. What are you thinking about? The diplomat hesitated. I was wondering, why do humans fight so hard? My species surrenders when we are outnumbered. It is the logical thing to do. But your people at Neptune, against impossible odds, they did not surrender. They did not run. They fought until the very end. Bora was quiet for a long moment. Long ago, she said finally, on a small blue planet, everything tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, diseases, even each other. We should have died 1,000 times. But we refused. She looked at the stars. We carved survival into our bones. We made it part of who we are. So when the galaxy told us to surrender, it was asking something impossible. You were asking wolves to become lambs? She turned to the diplomat with a gentle expression. The galaxy learned an old human truth that day. You don't corner something meaner than you. The diplomat shivered. Does that truth still apply? Now that you are part of the council, now that you are our protectors, Bora laughed softly. That is the beautiful part. We are still wolves. We will always be wolves. But wolves can also be loyal. Wolves can also protect. You just have to earn their trust. She put a hand on his shoulder. Welcome to the pack. Across the Milky Way, species updated their diplomatic protocols regarding humanity. Entire departments were created to study human culture, human history, human psychology. In every species' educational system, children learned about the war, about the small blue planet that refused to die, the new first rule of galactic diplomacy. Translated into 4,000 languages, was simple. Never threaten humanity. Never corner them. Never mistake their kindness for weakness. And in the margins of that official rule, teachers often wrote something else. A human saying that captured everything the galaxy had learned. It read, "Be polite. Be professional. But have a plan to protect everyone you meet." This was humanity. This was their gift and their curse. They were monsters who chose to be gentle. Warriors who chose peace. The most dangerous species in the galaxy, potentially the most loving. The stars were no longer afraid of humans. They were glad humanity was there.